Come here. Come here. Let's go. Come here, Reese. Kelly don't have no more stories.
I don't have no stories. I got good stories.
She's happy now.
Hey, Reese girl. Hey, Reese
Did you see
girl.
Kelly? There she is.
That doodle.
Hi, Reese.
Reese and Kelly.
Right, what you looking at, Reese?
She's so rude.
Everywhere but the screen.
Right, everywhere but the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Terry. Hey, Janessa.
Hello.
Why is Terry called the token wife?
I picked it because what does it look like?
Y'all pick one every time y'all come.
We got the same.
I'm the only person that's changed. Everybody else has pretty much been the same. I recently changed mine.
I think it's fine, and I think it's fair.
And true.
Yeah, exactly. It's fine. And by the way, I watched Suits when it was coming out because my wife at the time loved TBS and TNT for some reason. So I used to watch Suits and Burn Notice. You remember Burn Notice? Yeah, we would watch all those things.
I do remember Burn Notice.
Were y'all talking about Suits or something just now?
When I was backstage and I could hear it, she was like, didn't nobody know about Suits? No, I knew about it.
Yeah, I remember when people backstage
I was on Suits day one. Not because I wanted to either.
It's like the reality shows when the CCTV be going, they don't realize they're still being recorded. Hot mic moments.
Backstage, they can still hear you.
All right.
My lighting look kind of good today. Too bad I'm having a bad hair day.
Your hair looks fine.
It's all good.
All right, let's keep these intros down to a minute. Let's get
That's
this
fine
done.
with me. That's fine.
I know
I'm
Kelly
on my
been trying to
second
talk
hour in a
about
row.
Suits lately.
It'd be me,
So
right?
It's been Kelly.
Yeah.
She gonna take
literally just ended the other podcast, and now we're starting this one. So yeah, I'm down for that.
That energy.
No, I don't. That's why I said let's go.
Boom shakalaka.
Shakalaka, shakalaka.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.
Welcome everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope it's no boys and girls. This is our podcast. It's a little inappropriate, but thank y'all, saints and sinners, for returning to this Worst Ones podcast. We are the worst. Special episode today. We have the person, the glue, the real MVP in the building. Okay, I don't know what just happened. Oh, okay. So the real MVP in the building, the Hollywood producer, Risa G. She is a PK. Reese, what's happening?
Hey. Started.
Yeah, I did it backwards this time. You introduced the guest first. I don't know. I tried something different. Got Princess Kells with the so-called bad hair day. She looks fine to us, but you know.
Thank y'all. Yes, so sweet.
Sure.
I look like Kevin.
You always look like Kevin.
No, I don't. Today I just like, why I look like my daddy?
Always look like Kevin.
Women never look good if you ask them. They think they look good. That's why every woman likes dressing up real fancy and going to fancy. She's like, see, this is proof I look really good now, don't I?
Well, those words of affirmation right there was from Terry Weezy, who is a PK, and of course we got our honor roll student Jay Rihanna in the building, who is also a PK. So we already got our pre-production notes. Keep these introductions short. So let's start with the one who should give the shortest. Risa, how you doing? Since it's like, give us what the time limit should look like.
Right.
Yes, perfect.
Model for us.
I'm doing great. I'm live from LA. And I just wanted to say you guys can stop talking about Beyonce. And
never.
Everything is well on my end. Everything's been great.
Gotcha. Well, welcome back. We're glad to have you back. Glad to have you here.
Absolutely.
It's been at least a year, I'm sure, since you last time you've been on. So welcome back. Oh man, I forgot to put this up. Sorry. All right, Jay Rihanna, how art thou?
I am exhausted. So I'm gonna try to do my best today.
There you go.
but the semester ended and I did make the honor roll again.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Dean's list.
Honorary dean's list.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep, and I did go to my Energy Justice Ambassador Program conference, which was really enlightening. It was just really refreshing to see 25 plus Black and brown women who have an interest in environmental science, specifically for this project, energy equity and affordability. So it was just encouraging because honestly, I probably know 2 Black environmental scientists, women, before this weekend. And so, you know, it can be challenging sometimes being in a especially male dominated field. So it was just really good, but I'm super duper tired.
Gotcha. Well, the fatigue is not for nothing. You made the honor roll again, and we are what the Bible says. Don't get weary in well doing. Amen. That's even in your grades. Amen. So keep on.
I need renewed strength for those that wait.
Run and not get weary. Walk and not faint. Amen. Study and not wait. I don't know. Is it something for studying? And show yourself approved. With your honor roll. So we're proud of you. Amen. Praise God for you.
Amen.
Kellie Lee.
I'm good. Nothing to complain about. Because I feel like I complain from time to time, but I don't have nothing to complain about today. I start kickball. I joined a kickball league in my school, so my first game is Wednesday.
Okay.
Yep. It put me at first base. I got to kind of pay attention a little bit over there. I was trying to get the second. They wouldn't let me go. But yeah, so super excited. We had practice today. So yeah, I'm looking forward to a kickball season. All the cool kids in Atlanta did it pre-COVID. But I wasn't interested. But since COVID, I got a little more active. So I said, let me go on out there. So we'll see. I'll let you guys know.
Can we come to the games or me?
Absolutely. Just not the first one. Let me warm up.
Come with the sign, a little 8x11 piece of paper. Let's go, princess.
Just out of curiosity,
they don't even know it's you.
Who that is, right? No, it's like 10 of us on the team. I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Just out of curiosity, did your boo thing have anything to do with encouraging you to get out there?
You know what? He didn't. And I haven't. So I'm doing this with my coworkers. Okay. And at one point I was going to tell them that he's like a former athlete and coach. And then I said no, because then they may expect a little more out of me. So we're going to leave it alone.
Gotcha.
We're going to leave that alone.
Right, gotcha. All right. Terry Weezy.
I was in an adult kickball league for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
2018, 2019. Yeah, just trying to get some exercise. That's all that. Yeah, that's some of those people take it way too seriously.
Yeah.
Just take it easy with that. They spend like hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for their team.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to get a little cardio, man. Let's relax here. I'm not a nerd.
I'm lucky they've been super supportive. Like when I don't catch the ball.
Well, most of the teams, are like that. I think there was like 10 teams in our league, but there's always those 2 teams.
Yep.
They're out there trying to prove something to their dad or something. I don't know.
Something. So we'll see. I'll let y'all know how my league goes.
Gotcha. All right. Praise God.
Yeah.
I'm good. Nothing to talk about. All right. So let's get it started in here.
Oh,
I have the question. That's what I was pulling up.
Oh no,
it's all good. So we're going to today. We brought Reese's Pieces Buttercup in as a special guest because she, like she mentioned, is in LA, and I usually have the Worst Ones background, but I figured I have my little LA background. Look like I'm in a little, luxury house in the mountain somewhere.
Y'all there together.
I said y'all in the same room.
Right. And completely different sizes, completely different time zones. But either way, today we are talking about Lost Sodom Gomorrah, California.
I cannot. It took me a second to figure that out.
I was like, what?
Right. It took me like, what? It took me
Lost Sodom Gomorrah, California. This is a real place. Reese currently lives there.
I cannot.
According to the Saints.
So does Beyonce, who is the leader.
But everybody was at their concert though. At her concert, I don't want to hear about it.
No, I wasn't there. I skipped it.
I was there.
3 out of 5 was there. I just want to say that. So I mean,
I was there on research, but I was there.
I was there on research.
Girl, you was there. You paid for the tickets. You was there. The tickets was not cheap.
Might use it for a paper in the future. I get that.
So yeah, let's talk about it. Reese, you said I guess you want to ask the specific question.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say that way they knew. So technically the question is, why is LA, aka like Hollywood or the entertainment industry, seen as Sodom and Gomorrah? And then like why, for example, is Denzel Washington seen as an exception because he's a Christian?
That's Reese.
Yeah, sorry.
Why is Denzel? You said why did Denzel get an excuse because he's looked at as a Christian?
Because he said it publicly. Not saying others aren't, but he said it publicly. So it's like, oh, well, he's an exception, even though he's had his roles as well.
Does he live in Sodom and Gomorrah? Does he actually live out there? Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I know he's in Hollywood as far as the system, but yeah, he may have. I don't know.
Oh yeah, everybody's out here.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if he may have lived in Northern California or somewhere else or whatever. Okay.
Sodom, Gomorrah, California.
Well, let's start with the first part of the question. So, why is it? What was it? Why is LA looked at as Sodom and Gomorrah?
Yeah, well, I guess LA because it's the entertainment industry.
Right.
That's like the home of Hollywood, home of the entertainment industry. So, like, why? Like, why is it like when people are moving to LA, it's like, oh, you're going out there to,
Right.
So yeah,
I guess my first thing would be for those who know the Bible well. I'm not claiming that to be me at all. Can we get some background on Sodom and Gomorrah? We have some non-believers that are followers. Mm-hmm. See, I'm claiming the non-believer followers and the believer followers and all of that. So, can someone give us a little background of the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah?
Oh, that's country. I don't know. Don't ask me.
Places.
I believe it's because they became so corrupt and they became so corrupted by their carnality that they got to the point where there was only one righteous man left, if I believe correctly. To the point where even when God sent angels to there, they tried to rape and kill the angels. So I believe it's just they fell so far away from God that they became like animals, essentially.
Yeah,
enveloped by their own carnality to the point where he just had to wipe the whole city off the face of the earth.
Yeah, and I think even going to the whole LA comparison, I think it's because for one, LA, even just like a Vegas, is looked at as like a sort of a sin city. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a bunch of heathenish activities going on. And then if you take it a step further, especially for those who may be a little more woke or, looking a little past the service level, they're going to talk about, especially particularly men having to do certain things to get to a certain level in Hollywood and, taking it up the behind or whatever the case may be. So Sodom and Gomorrah was just such a sinful city in many different ways that God destroyed it. And so that's where that comparison comes from, that not necessarily God is going to destroy LA, but it gets that reputation because it's just a city full of sin, whether it be the homosexual side of things or whether it even just be the fornication side of things or the drugs or the, getting caught up in the Hollywood system and forgetting your Christian roots and, especially when it comes down to singers who, start off in the choir and now they're out there singing that foolishness. So it's that whole comparison I'm saying is where it came from.
But technically, isn't every city at that point? I mean, the same thing I'm saying about Atlanta. I lived in New York City. That's down 1,000% happening. I mean, Miami, we've all been. I mean, Atlantic City, we can go Seattle, Portland. So the same things, Dallas, Houston.
Y'all should probably move from them cities then.
Well, let's get one thing straight. Some people might say that Los Angeles is Sodom and Gomorrah, but come on, man, you're putting words in God's mouth now, which is a dangerous thing to do. you're starting with what you're looking around going, where's Sodom and Gomorrah? And you're just finding a place that's run down. In my opinion, Los Angeles is the way it is now because a certain type of city, and like she said, a certain type of city or a certain type of fame or industry just attracts certain kind of people. And unfortunately, not all those people are stable. It's the same way, Rudy, that comedian or like stand-up comedy attracts, psychopaths. Just because it's just the nature of the beast. So everybody.
Terry, your microphone or whatever you use, it don't sound that clear. You sound kind of.
Okay, I'll switch it when.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just I just think when you attract a certain kind of people over a long enough period of time, that's what's going to happen. It's an inevitability because Hollywood used to be classy and nice and the streets were clean, and now it's garbage.
I mean, well, the city, yes, but I think they sometimes refer to Hollywood as like the entertainment industry, which is why I think they're labeling the city based on what happens in the entertainment industry.
Right.
And technically, at this point in life, I mean, that's not just entertainment. It's just that could be a postal worker, unfortunately, living in some cases the same type of, maybe not to the same, extent, but the same things are happening. In the everyday man's life versus, somebody who lives technically in LA and has all this money and yada, yada, yada.
Well, go ahead, Janessa. I'm sorry.
So 2 things real quick. If anybody wants to read the story, it's in Genesis 18 and 19.
Oh, wow. It's that early.
Mm-hmm.
Is that early? I thought it was New Testament. Okay.
No,
it was before Moses. I don't know.
Oh,
it's
wow.
Abraham.
Before Abraham, yeah. Abraham was in there.
Yeah. His nephew or somebody was
Lot.
Who's Lot people? Who is mama daddy?
Well, Lot's wife is the one who turned into the pillar of salt, I believe.
Lot, yeah, she did.
Can't control those ladies. I told you not to turn around.
LA has historically been known as a place that anything and everything goes. I think probably over the past 10 years, maybe even more, places like Atlanta have definitely picked up, possibly because of the shift in entertainment, a lot of production being coming to Atlanta, a lot of filming. But you're right. I think it does have to do with what your city has and what it attracts. And I think social media also has it's exasperated a lot of stuff because where you might not have seen it so much in your face, or you might have heard about it, or you might have seen it in the what's that gossip paper from back in the day? Is it the Esquire? Yeah, that
Inquirer. Yeah,
Inquirer. You might have seen something on Inquirer. Now you can see it on Instagram. It's on TV. You got Fox Soul and TMZ, and I'm trying to think of the other one with Ricky Smiley.
But it still doesn't explain why Los Angeles got this hang up and not Vegas. Vegas is nicknamed Sin City. So why is Vegas untouched?
I don't think it's untouched. It's called Sin City for a reason. It's just a different title, but it's still referring to the same
thing. And I think
thing.
more people just visit there versus move there. More people are moving to Los Angeles to be a part of the quote unquote Sin City, as opposed to church people may have just said don't visit Vegas to go gamble and all that, but most people aren't really moving to Vegas. But Los Angeles is more of a destination where people are trying to get to.
Not anymore.
What I'm saying, historically, to chase a dream or whatever the case may be. And so that's the difference in Vegas and Los Angeles. But go ahead, Janessa. I'm sorry.
No, that was all I was going to say. I agree. It's not like I said, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you were not saying, let me go to Idaho to pop off. Like it was, let me go to Los Angeles or to New York, and maybe even Miami. But they also have their own titles too. They might not be as
Sodom Gomorrah,
California. I'm trying to read the bio. It might not be that, but they have their own titles and their own things as well.
But do you think they called it that? I mean, even now, even if you say it, some people still get kind of icky. They may not call it what we're calling it, but do you think it's because of the unknown, because they don't know? So it's like, oh, let me just label it because the stories I hear, or I know Hollywood does drugs, or I know they promote sex in movies, so they definitely are having sex outside of it and things like that. It's because nobody that they know has really done it. So it's like, oh, if you get out there, you're going to not necessarily convert, but you're going to participate in activities because you're out there, and like they don't know, like they really don't know. So you kind of, it's more just like, I'm saying, is it more just like speculation? So then we label it as speculation because of the fact that we truly don't know. Like nobody's been to be like, yeah, this is happening, or no, it's not happening.
I think there's definitely a political component too. You know, a lot of evangelicals, a lot of Baptists in America are pretty openly, you know, right wing, and they see California, and then that gets roped in, and now you look at all the stuff that's going on out there, and the mass exodus, and people moving away. I mean, there's so many people that have moved from California to where I am right now that it's causing a bit of a rift. And I'm in a very small town outside of Nashville, but it's causing quite a rift with all the people migrating from California. But I think a lot of that has to do with, it's these godless liberals out there that is causing all this. And the two kind of just go hand in hand.
People are leaving New York as well. It's a mass exodus from there.
Oh, I agree. I agree. But that just reinforces that same mentality is what I'm saying. So it's kind of like you're looking for answers before you've asked the questions, you know. You're like, you already know what the destination you want is, and now you're just backpedaling, trying to figure out how to make it so.
Were you going to say something, Kellie?
Yeah, yes, but it's before Terry's point. But
Sorry.
I was going to say, I think it was to the conversation that we had a few weeks ago, and kind of what you said at the beginning, Rudy, about, to your point, Risa, the ideals that we have about what happens in LA. And so the people who sell their souls to get in the entertainment industry, or the people who do, like I said, all of the things that Rudy kind of listed off in the beginning to get to where they are. And in the movie, acting, film world, LA is that place. Historically has been that place. Now I know we got Atlanta now that's doing Tubi video. Let me not.
Atlanta does Marvel. Tyler Perry Studios, they film it.
Let me do my hometown like that.
Exactly.
But historically, like you said, people move to LA to get into the film industry, the movie industry. And I think, like you said, it's the unknown, but it's what we've seen from the film industry in LA, that people do drugs and people have sex, and you're having these big sex parties, and people are doing cocaine and this and that, you know, like that's what we've seen. Even before Instagram and social media, that was what the movies were. Like, that's what you think LA is. That's what you think New York is, you know? Like, that is the norm of what people do every single night. And even in the gossip columns, like, that's what they like to talk about too. Oh, such and such went out and partied and, you know, or whatever. And so, and it becomes more than the day-to-day drinking. You know, everybody parties in clubs and goes out or whatever, but they have a different status, they have a different level of money, they have, you know, that, so it looks different for them. And so I can see where people may equate the sin that we feel like goes on in LA to Sodom and Gomorrah, where things are just so crazy that it may need to be destroyed. You know, or even, and I know the part where Lot's wife turns into a pillar of salt. I remember that was being something because she looked back. You know, they were supposed to be moving out of that place, but she couldn't let go and look back as if she wanted to stay. And that's when she turned into the pillar of salt, you know, and how many people have that stronghold on them and how difficult it is for some of them to move away from it. So I can see where I can see why people would equate the two places, well, the three places really, because Sodom and Gomorrah are two different places, but the three.
Right.
But that's like saying Tacoma, Washington, because Ted Bundy comes from there, that's all they are in Tacoma, Washington. It's just a bunch of serial killers.
No, but I'm saying there is a space. Is there not a space in for Risa, who is the resident LA person on the podcast, and Rudy, who moved to LA for the film industry? You know, you guys can maybe speak a little more to does LA have those pockets? And you guys may not have been in those pockets of people who engage in, and all sin is the same. The Lord say, what the Lord say, no sin is bigger than the other sin.
What the Lord say?
And what he say somewhere there. What is, somebody Google what is found. You know, that have this very sinful nature. And I agree, Terry. We all sin, we all fall short. There are people from everywhere that do their thing and know it's unfair to cup LA as a whole and say that it's the whole city, but I think that sin exists there, just like it exists in Atlanta.
Then what's the difference? Why is
no, it's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What's the difference between LA and Atlanta? If you're all full of sin everywhere, what's the difference?
Because we're talking about entertainment industry.
Entertainment industry is what LA is based. Is the capital. LA is the capital of the world for entertainment. Yes.
For the moment,
sorry,
yes.
Janessa.
No, before Risa, you and Rudy talk about y'all's experience, I just wanted to add something real quick. I think with LA, there's been a lot of, whether it's good or bad, scandals, deaths, or whatever, there is a lot of it. And oftentimes it is, it was drugs involved. It was an overdose. It was, they drank too much. They mixed too many together. The doctor gave them the wrong thing. You know, it's always something. And you just hear, I think in today's world with social media, it's different. But I'm saying, like, historically, you would hear these things coming out of Los Angeles that might have contributed to it getting kind of like the bad rap that it does. Now, I just want to say from my own personal experience, I've been to California, I've been to Los Angeles a few times. And one thing that back in the day, so in Atlanta, the clubs used to close at 6 a.m. Now I think they close at 2 or 3. When I was in LA, I partied with friends, pre-game party, and watched the sun come up. And like, they had an agenda of, okay, we're going to go to this spot, and then we're going to go to this spot. And then there's the late night spot here. And then there's the after hour spot here. And then there's the early rising spot here. And I was like, wait a second. Like,
I knew that early
I was like, we don't have no early morning spot. But it's just like
Waffle House.
Right.
No, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm
You
thinking.
go to Roscoe's.
But it's literally like, I would say a club, but like a kind of, I don't know. It's still a party,
right.
But it was just like, it didn't even start till 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was so tired. We had a limousine. That's how old this is. We had a limousine, and I was like, y'all go ahead. I'm just gonna stay in the limousine. Like, I'm tired.
Right.
So me and the limousine guy, we're standing out. You know, he's parked outside. A few minutes later, people start arguing. Pop, pop, pop. The limousine driver's telling me, get down, get down. He's speeding off. I'm telling you, I've dodged several bullets in my lifetime. Yeah. And so, you know, like he's skirting off. I'm on the floor. Like, I don't know. I only knew one person at the time. I was with a friend and their friends. I'm trying to call her, tell her, like, we need to go. Why her phone rings on the you're like, I don't have any way to get in contact with you. But it's just like, I had never experienced, of course there's shootings and stuff in Atlanta all the time, but I had just never experienced, like, at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning in front of the early morning spot, you know, that there's this type of situation going down. No, that's not something that I've ever experienced in Atlanta. And Atlanta, you know, is considered a metropolitan city, a big city, an entertainment city, whatever. So I think for me personally, it's yes, all the stuff we see on TV, the news, the Inquirer, whatever, Esquire, but then also personal experience. I've never experienced anything like that except in Los Angeles, and I've been a few times. So that's all.
I've been half a dozen times there, and I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I performed in LA like half a dozen times, and had the opportunity to go out, but I was usually back at the hotel by 1, 2 o'clock at the latest. So I mean,
right.
That's what I'm saying. It might just be like what you're into, because, you know.
But that's the point that we're making. That the people in LA are into something different from, where did you live in the time? Florida?
Yeah.
Like, they're into something different. I had never heard of an early morning spot until right now.
Right.
Facts.
I
Well,
know
there's
after
plenty
hours,
in
but after the after hours, you go get some to eat, you go home.
Go home.
Facts.
The early
So-
morning spot.
now there have been plenty of real late nights in Vegas, which I guess may be different circumstances. But I think the common correlation we're finding here is just the availability, just the fact that there are places there. There are places in Vegas that you can go all night. There are places in LA you can go all night, and New York as well. So maybe that's it. Just the availability to go out and party all night, as opposed to
And
if
I
you
think that's
Well, yeah.
what brings people to those areas, which is why you have this overpopulated space of people who are into these similar things. Versus, like you said, in Atlanta, we close at 3. The only place you go into after 3 at this point is maybe 1 or 2 after-hour spots, but you go into the Waffle House. And again, I'm not in the party scene, so they may be doing something else. But for the regular average person, that's just what it is. But I think that's the point that we're making, is that so many people gravitate to the LAs, to the New Yorks, to the Vegases, because the availability of engaging in those type of behaviors is higher than in other spaces. Not only does LA have, who didn't want to be a movie star, or or whatever, how many people want to be a movie star or whatever. That's where they go, and those are the type of places where you go and you get to meet people and do things and, or whatever, hang out with the stars and be one of the stars. How many people do you know was an extra in a movie and they thought that they were Denzel Washington?
Right.
Tell them.
I don't know no extras.
I was an extra twice.
If you could tell them that I can't even think of an actor. They weren't Halle Berry. They weren't whatever. And they showed up in the little shopping mall scene, walking out while the people was going in. Because that's all, they just want that little fame. And you see it all on Instagram and Facebook. Watch me on this show at 3419.
Right.
You just see me in the red shirt in the back. Because
Right.
they just want to be a part of the industry, a part of the place. And LA is the place to go, and you may get a little call back to do whatever. Like, that's just what it is. If you want to go to Broadway, or then you go to New York. I don't know what you're coming to. Let me stop talking about my city.
Stop. Yeah, let me tell you something. Whenever Kelly likes something a lot, she will downplay it.
I need a break.
But I was an extra in 2 different movies, and it damn sure wasn't in LA. It was in Davie, Florida, and I want to say Loxahatchee, Florida.
And what were the name of the movies?
One I got to meet Wesley Snipes, which was a movie called Drop Zone. And then the other one was True Lies, that filmed in Miami, the Schwarzenegger movie. So if you wait a long enough time, like, the industry will come to you if you're in the right spot. Yeah.
So, Risa, you go ahead with your experience since you currently live there.
Hey, y'all. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. Follow us on Instagram at TheWorstOnesPK. New content coming soon. We also have a TikTok at TheWorstOnesPK. No content yet, but continue to check us out. If you want to, when you listen to our podcast, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast. Just make sure you type in The Worst Ones Podcast and you'll find us. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you to our 500,422 followers. We love you so much. Now, back to the show.
Yeah, no, the industry films everywhere. They actually, most of them don't even film in LA, but yes, especially movies. But no, my experience has just been cool. I mean, have I been out to parties? Yes. Have I been to after hours spot? It's usually like somebody's house, so it's like everybody goes to somebody's very nice house or whatever. And a lot of times that's where things take place. Sure. But I don't think it's something that I've done differently than New York. Maybe, yes. Maybe it was actually, that's not even true. It was somebody famous too in New York. So I feel like they're one of the same. I get it because it's entertainment industry. So I get the, all the studios are out here and the record labels and all of that. So you're like, oh yeah, look, but yeah, it's New York on the West Coast. Literally.
But what does that mean specifically? Like, so like all the rumors are true, like as much drugs as we think they're doing, as much sex as we think they're
I don't
having.
think there's snorting more cocaine out here than they are in Miami. Because Miami is the port. So let's start there.
It's just cheaper here. That's the thing.
Exactly. It gets shipped from Miami to come out here. I think, like Terry was saying earlier, it's just accessibility. Just like if you go to Vegas, I mean, you can get the same clean cocaine, pure cocaine. You can get your escort to have sex. You can get an IV for the next morning when you have a hangover. Like I've done it. Like you have a hangover, they put you on an IV, you get your nutrients, you back to party all over again. So I mean, it's definitely the accessibility or what's available in each city. I'm sure Atlanta will get to a point if they already don't have it because Atlanta is becoming a true hot spot. So they'll start having some of these options as well, and then people will definitely be talking about hot Atlanta, as somebody said to me this weekend. I was like, nobody calls it that. But Atlanta, since it is becoming, a major hub for the entertainment industry, and people are at least going to stay there temporarily while they film, whatever TV show and or movie that they're there for. So, yeah.
Yeah. I guess for me, for one, as far as my actual LA experience, I really only kind of experienced it with film school people, meaning students as well as like staff and teachers or whatever, and then comedians when it came down to like going to open mics and doing shows. I went to two let's use air quotes and say industry parties, if you will. But one was our cousin Phil, writer. He was a writer for Disney at the time. It may still be, but he whatever show he was writing for, they were having the premiere party for that. So I went with him to that. It was for a kid show. I didn't know anybody on the show, so don't ask me who was there. And then I went to. They were getting ready to shoot, I think maybe like season 4 of Snowfall, and a guy that I had met out there, he did the lights and stuff for Snowfall, and so I went to their little, I don't know, getting ready to shoot the season party or whatever you call that. But at both of those places, I didn't see anybody getting blowjobs in the bathroom or snorting cocaine or, what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying at those parties. Now, whether it happened and I just wasn't in the right bathroom or whatever, I don't know. But I'm just saying, as far as me, I didn't see that particular, taking place. Everybody was just cool, relaxed, whatever.
Sounds like a lame party. Both of those things have happened at parties I've thrown.
Oh, well, there you go. So
not me, but some of the people.
I got you. I got 6 months of just being out and about, and then the pandemic happened, and then I didn't really get to go out again until towards the end of the pandemic, in which then I ended up moving anyway. So I wasn't like just in LA like that. And even when Risa moved there, most of the time when I left, it was because she was pulling me out the house, even if it was just to go get donuts or whatever the case may be. So, but I will say this though. I don't think that just because these other cities have similarities to LA makes LA any less Sodom and Gomorrah-ish. And the reason why I say that, because I think it just may be more Sodoms and more Gomorrahs just being built, but I don't think that LA is not, because the stuff that we think is happening, folks. Let's just I
don't think it's a thought.
Let's keep it a buck. You know what I'm saying? So I fully get why Christians or whoever made up this concept. Like, I get why they feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they're going to be a really traditional conservative Christian. Like, I get where it comes from. Like, you're definitely going to an atmosphere, not only a place where just say sin is available, but most people are going there to get into the industry in which just say that those sins are the, that's the hub of the, because even though, like, as a politician you can sin, but most people ain't thinking you get into politics to do drugs or whatever. Now, you may do it to be corrupt or whatever, but as far as that entertainment industry thought, you know what I'm saying, we're thinking about the sex, the drugs, the, selling out, for money, doing things for money that you wouldn't normally do or whatever the case may be, maybe showing your breasts, whatever. So people are thinking about that aspect, especially these actors and stuff who, because even like a Denzel, like going back to him, like, yeah, he's Christian and he thank God or whatever like that, but Denzel definitely done made some very R-rated movies, you know what I'm saying? Like some movies that definitely his character wasn't saved, that's for sure, you know what I'm saying? But does he get a pass? Because just like Tyler Perry, he preach at what it is? What's the church? Joel Osteen's church, a different people church, and he can preach a whole sermon. But if you
you know how I feel about that.
But if you watch, but if you watch, his content, especially since he's gotten, because Tyler Perry is responsible for a lot of the Atlanta becoming the movie industry or whatever the case may be. But in him being responsible for it, he's also gotten, let's say, using air quotes, Christianly irresponsible with his content. Because he definitely got, completely naked people having hella sex on his stuff, which I've talked about before, which I'm not personally complaining about. I'm just saying as far as the Christian values. I'm saying the Christian values. I'm saying that's, that is frowned upon.
Rudy, what time is the next episode? What day it come on?
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm just so not to go on too much further, but I do think that like I said, I get where that mindset came from, why people feel that way about LA, because it is pretty much everything they think it is, and probably even more. And there may be some people who actually did sell their soul for fame and whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? Well, I'm saying
probably for sure.
No, but I'm saying because we were specific about Beyonce not doing it, and why did it have to be the devil? Yada yada yada. So I'm just saying.
We ain't talking about Beyonce,
right?
Whatever.
She talented. We talking about other people. We talking about the ones without talent that somehow
who made it. Let's talk about them people.
Well, I mean, even being not talented and still making it big is a talent. Like the Kim Kardashians and the Paris Hiltons of the world. Like, it is a skill to be able to do absolutely nothing and still everybody love you. So, but as I close, Los Sodom and Gomorrah, California is a real place. Okay, it is a real place, and everybody out there definitely is industry minded. Like, even though nobody like offered me anything weird, but everybody I spoke to was always like, "What do you do? What do you do? What can I, how can we do something for each other?" As opposed to just, "Hi, I'm Rudy. I'm a human." Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just like it's not none of that. And so yeah, I'm done.
That is very true, Rudy. A lot of people are a quid pro quo out here, so it is very hard to find people who are just genuinely like cool and make friends. So I have been blessed enough to find crews, and some do work in the industry. They work at Netflix and they work at different places, and they super chill. I can't say where I be at Netflix because we're not crossing the picket line because they still protesting. But you go there, you have a good time. It's like, oh, if you come here, you gotta, it's nothing like that. And so you can find it's pockets of those people. But for people who come out here for entertainment, like, they definitely are like, what do you do? What shows are you on? And then they start using all these acronyms like AD, PA, all this stuff that I have no clue. And they'll keep talking to you about it. Yeah, so it's definitely big out here on that.
Well, I've been saving this because I just wanted to go take this to a different level. What do you say about a preacher who goes to Los Angeles, meets up with certain people that really like him, then he ends up being a business manager out there for about 15 years while he's also preaching all across the world. So he's half the time out there dealing with that, making money off that industry, and then half the time also funding a school in
so you talking about the guy who did Hillsong?
We're talking about my father. This is what my father did. My father met a few old celebrities out there, people who used to be really famous and now just kind of lived off that fame, and then ended up becoming best friends with a couple of them, and business partners or business manager for a couple other ones, and he's still doing his ministry at the same time. So at what point do you think there might be a conflict there?
I don't think there is no conflict. I don't think that you can't be a preacher or be a Christian per se and then not get your money out here. I think you just need to make sure, just like if you're an actor like or Tyler Perry, like I don't think that Tyler Perry is less of a Christian just because he has more than one show that is no longer Christian based. I mean, he's just, he's creating what do you call it, like a portfolio, and everything can't be Medea and we get saved at the end. Everything can't be that. Like he has to diversify what he's putting on, or at least what he's producing, in order, because we don't know what his bigger goal is. His bigger goal could be to own a channel, which clearly he was trying to do. And in that case, it can't be all Medea. It technically can't.
Well,
so therefore,
I don't think it has to be Medea recently.
Well, I'm not saying, I don't mean Medea, but I meant like those type of movies where like it comes in, we have the comedy, there's this big plot, and then at the end we all come together, we say a prayer, everything's good. I'm saying
we need every movie to end with "Father, can you hear me now?"
No, it can't. No,
Listen, take y'all
no, he did. And as a business, yes, you have that cluster. And then you have the cluster of other things for other people. Like he needs to diversify his crowd, which also diversifies his income. It gets more money, it gets more exposure, all of that. And so that has to happen. So therefore, going back to Terry's father, because I think Hillsong Preacher did something similar, TD Jakes, like a lot of them do that. And so I don't think that's a problem. I mean, I think you just have to make sure that you're not like compromising yourself for what you believe. In a lot of cases, a lot of them aren't, at least from what I've seen. But yeah, I don't think it's a problem.
Well, he told me a couple of industry parties that he went to. Pretty wild stuff, even for me.
For sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kelly. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm like, but on the flip side, people judge the pastors that are making millions and millions of dollars and are able to buy jets and mansions and all of that off the church's dime.
Right. So I don't think it should be off the church.
Right. And so for someone who has been called to ministry and called to be a pastor, but like your father didn't get a salary and, gave up everything for the church, to me, there's no issue with him going to get his money elsewhere. I know so many pastors that this isn't their 9 to 5. This is, just something that not necessarily do on the side, but it isn't their main source of income. And so for your father to find another space to get his income, I think one is okay. 2, like Rita said, I think as long as he had his boundaries and he didn't let that industry compromise who he was, and I'm sure he tried to at every moment that he could speak life in the word into them and what they were doing, but go get your money.
Okay.
I think it would be problematic if it was maybe the other way. You were a businessman and you were like, man, what's another avenue I can get money?
Like me.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah, those are the same people I keep talking about. The Kenneth Copelands and the,
Right.
Who's Kenneth Copeland?
He's a dude that went to his church to buy him or like a G5 or G6 jet or something.
An old white guy from.
That'd be on a TV commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the wealthiest pastor in America.
Going back to what you said, Risa, about the whole, but they just need to make sure they don't compromise. So I do think there is a fine line even with that, because I get it. Like we're all, trust me when I tell you, and y'all know me. I am the last person to have any level of judgment on anybody, to be trying to even determine what they should do based off of my goodness. Okay, because I'm definitely living every day off of grace and mercy. Amen. I'm talking about every day, every second. Like I'm like every day. I need it, an abundance of grace. Okay, so I'm not coming from a place of hierarchy by any means, but
you about to come from a place.
I'm coming from a place of just facts, of just we're just gonna be real for a second. There is a line when it comes down to the whole compromising. So like you use TD Jakes as an example, and we've used Tyler Perry as an example. So TD Jakes he's made movies. So he's the 2 that I know is Woman Thou Art Loose and then Jumping the Broom, right?
And Not Easily Broken.
Not Easily Broken, right? But with Jumping the Broom specifically, right? These had regular people in it. These were people who were interested in fornication and whatever. They were drinking, whatever case may be. But the premise of the movie was a woman who was practicing abstaining from marriage. I mean, from sex until marriage, made this promise to God, whatever. So to me, I can see the message even in the what looks like just say secular stuff, right? Same thing with Tyler Perry. You may die of a mad black woman, you know, you may got all this whatever happened throughout it, but then ultimately, you know, you got the Father, can you forgive me, or whatever the song is, hear me, or whatever at the end. But then if you watch Sisters or Bruh or The Oval,
it's apples and
don't
oranges.
forget Ruthless.
Ruthless.
No.
What I'm saying is, it is a clear difference in using in like I'm not mad at you for just say having things that may seem unchristian like if you're doing it for the purpose of going back to your point. But if it's just for the sake of this is what sells and I'm gonna get a bag off of this, once again, I'm saying this from the pits. That's still compromising. You feel what I'm saying? Like,
no, I don't think so. No, Tyler Perry is actually in the industry to entertain and make content. TD Jakes is not fully in the entertainment industry in that magnitude. Therefore, he is not going to sit here
Tyler
and have
preaches. He be preaching.
Whose preacher is he? I think he just speaks.
No, I've seen it. You can go on YouTube and he got sermons, recent sermons.
Okay. But he doesn't proclaim to be a pastor. He proclaims.
But he
Look, I can't speak to it because he doesn't have a church and he's not out here being a missionary or whatever. He goes to Joel Osteen and a couple other people's church and they let him speak and he gets people hyped. Great. So what I'm saying is they are doing two different things. TD Jakes is truly a pastor of his own church, and then he finds ways outside of the church for him to make money and live his life the way he wants to. Tyler Perry is creating content so that way whatever his end goal is to own a network. Just say he needs to have that content to be able to show that he can pretty much have a network and have content on that network. So whether that is Die of a Mad Black Woman style or that's Bros and Sisters and all these ones you're talking about and everything in between, like he needs to have that as far as content creation. So I don't think it's him compromising or him selling out. Just like Denzel Washington doing Training Day versus Denzel Washington, John Q doesn't mean he's less than or more than. It is just literally that's a character and it's literally just content and diversifying your portfolio. If you're doing things that like is because you may think nudity on screen is incorrect, but then like overseas it's all day, it's nothing. And also in plays, it's nothing. So like in America, we may be more strict or our views may be more limited, but like in other places and in other stages, it isn't. Yeah. So I don't think that we can make the judgment or even make the statement of like, oh, if you do this, that means that you're a part of this. That's not necessarily true because if you're a true thespian, that's part of the artwork, that's part of it, and it doesn't make you less than to do that.
Right, but I'm not talking about like political views per country. I'm talking about like if you're like proclaiming a religion or a following of Christ or whatever that says these things just say are wrong or whatever the case may be, and then you also preach the same word, but then you and don't get me wrong, I've compromised before. Let's be clear.
Talking about Tyler Perry?
I'm talking about Tyler Perry, yes.
Okay.
Like we talking about because once again, like it ain't about you. You don't have to be a pastor in order to be held accountable for, you know what I'm saying, like what it is that you are doing. And I don't mean held accountable in the sense of like me writing a letter, but I'm just saying like in the sense of his content definitely, like especially Ruthless. I never watched it, but according to the description that Janessa gave us, that ain't. I mean, let's just be real. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to crucify Tyler Perry. I'm a fan.
So what do you want? You want him to stay the same forever? Like I'm confused. There's no growth. There's no nothing.
But I'm saying the first of all, Tyler Perry isn't necessarily growing in the sense of like he makes the same type of content. It's just different storylines. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, we know. Yeah.
But adding the sex or whatever, like especially to the degree in which it's happening, like it's more along the lines of I'm doing the things that you do in the industry for entertainment as opposed to what it is that just say, and I'm not saying that you have to make squeaky clean content, but it's not wrapping back around to a godly point. It's just literally doing it just for entertainment. And if that does make you a lot of money and be able to allow you to own your own network because you feel like you got to change it, whatever, all of that can be true, but that doesn't mean that you're not compromising what it is that you're saying that you stand for and believe in. And I'm not saying that he's the only person. I'm not crucifying Tyler Perry. but there is a level of compromising that happens if you are making content that does not align with what it is that you say that you believe. We may just not care about people sinning like that because we gonna live our life, they gonna live their life, whatever. But that don't make sins that I do or sins that somebody else do any less wrong. We just
is it sinning if you're acting? I'm confused on how this becomes sin.
No. I get what he's saying. He's basically calling him out for hypocrisy. But I don't think that's true either, because if you look at it biblically, storytelling today, movies, television shows, content, those could just as easily be aligned with parables. And that's to say that if Christ told a parable to give a message that didn't align with how he's just teaching using that tool.
So let me ask you this. Why did all of y'all say that Jesus would not watch the Players Club when I asked that question?
I wasn't on that episode.
You were on that. No,
we were all on that episode.
Y'all were all on it, but we were clear that I was like, well, what y'all was like, well, maybe if he's trying to get a sermon or prove a point, which is what I'm saying about Tyler Perry. If you remember what I said for the purpose of a sermon or a point, I get why you got people smashing. But if you smash just to be smashing, I'm just saying you compromising a little bit. Once again,
if you remember what I answered that question,
brother, I'm just saying.
I didn't say he would. I didn't say he wouldn't have watched Players Club because of the content in it. I said he wouldn't watch anything. He wouldn't watch, Passion of the Christ either. He's not out here to be, soaking up content. He wouldn't watch nothing, no matter how divine or evil it was.
I think he would watch it. I don't think you have to watch it with the intent to like it. I think I remember Kellie's dad does a good job of being aware. I mean, our mom has done it before just to see what your kids are watching or what kids are watching in general. I don't think he would watch it with the intent to let me, get my rocks off watching Lisa Ray. But I think he would watch it if it was relevant to what was happening. I think he would watch it just to understand what's happening. What are you guys doing? What is taking your attention? Whatever the case may be.
But that's
just
my
research.
But that's my point of what Tyler Perry lacks. There is no purpose behind it. It's just he's at this point he's just doing
you don't know because you don't know him. It could be a purpose.
Well, I've watched.
He's trying to define the hand of God now. You don't know how that thing moves. He works in mysterious ways.
And you also don't know Tyler Perry and what his end goal is, and so you can't say that just from the shows that you've seen so far and whatever seasons they're in to say that this is what this is just where he is right now. You don't know where he's going. So I don't think you can make that call at the moment. When he retires and he's not doing anything else, you can see how it wraps around.
Well, I'm saying some shows have ended, and they definitely ended right in the they ended in the sinful place. But it's I'm not hating on them. I get it. There's things that you do to get your bag and so on and so forth. I'm just speaking to when you said the word compromise. And I'm not saying that he necessarily sold his soul to the devil in order to that type of compromise, but in reference to saying this is wrong, but it sells, so I'm going to do it anyways. That's a little compromising. That's all I'm saying.
Because I will say in a previous podcast, we did talk about, in prior times, you could have a sex scene without there being any sex. Mm-hmm. You could set it up and everybody would know what was going on.
Right.
You didn't have to show the butt naked body. You didn't have to see them riding on top. You didn't have to see, you just know what happened. And I do think some things are super sexualized and they don't have to be, and you can still get the same message across. And I do think that, everybody doesn't have the same, I don't know, I'll say weaknesses for lack of a better word, but I think, some people can see something and feel oh, now I should go do this, or I should do that, or now I want to do this, that, and the third that may be sinful. And no, that's not on necessarily Tyler Perry or whoever, because they created the content. As viewers, you can control what you watch. But I do think, he could do, and other people could do things differently. We've also talked on the podcast recently about how, why is it that the gospel industry makes far less money than the secular industry? Because Tyler Perry, if he really wanted to, I forgot the name of the channel. My mother loves it. They have all Christian movies. Watches every Friday.
Or Trinity or something, the Word Network, something like that.
No, it's like a Netflix, but for Christian movies.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen that.
Pureflix, yeah.
Wait, what?
It's called
it's called Pureflix, and garbage.
I've seen some of the
I
the promos on YouTube before. Yeah, pure flick.
Pure flick. So it's like all Christian movies, and there could be an argument. Well, if Tyler Perry wants a channel, a TV station, whatever, well, he can't create a wholesome TV show or channel, but he's choosing to specifically do what he's doing for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason. I'm just saying there are definitely different options, different ways to go. Why he's doing it this way, I don't know. If I was in Tyler Perry's shoes, would I do that? Probably not. But we've also talked about this on our podcast too. Everybody has different convictions. Me, Rudy, and Terry, we've been in church before we were born, but we all feel differently about different stuff. So like, we can talk about Tyler Perry till we're blue in the face. We won't truly know what he's thinking. He probably will never hear what our thoughts are.
Yes, he will. Suits 9 years later. Come on, Kellie.
But I mean, I think there can be points made on both sides of the argument. That's it.
Right.
I want to know what the difference is between implied sex and shown sex, because you're given the same message the same way. The only difference is you're seeing the nudity. So I think that's just the squeamish remnants of our puritanical Southern upbringing. That's all.
No, there's a difference, because like when they used to like if you watch like the Jamie Foxx show and they come back from commercial and you see Jamie and Fancy laying in bed together, we know they just had sex, but that's way different than Jody and Yvette and Baby Boy. That's
why you're still saying it's okay for them to have sex. It's just not okay to see his ass. I mean, that's crazy.
No, I'm not talking about whether it's okay for them to have sex or not, but I'm saying the visual of the sex scene versus the implied, it's a difference.
Only to the squeamish.
But that's also America, because if you were living overseas, you would see like the Bridgertons and all that all the time. And so my thing is, we have this viewpoint because of our current like location and what we regulate and what we can see. And of course, your views, and like a lot of times, as Terry mentioned earlier, in general, Christians, just religion in general, religious people can be very conservative on their viewpoints and a lot of things. So then, we create these little narratives or like these boxes that everything should be in or whatever. So my point is, you may feel like it's such a major change because for you, it's a major change. However, if somebody from the UK is watching our content, they're like, oh, you guys don't even show this. Like, this is a natural, like when Bridgerton came out and they had that whole episode, was it 6, the first season, where all they did was have sex, and people were like, why does this have to be this? Why does it have to be this? Well, that's what they do in the UK. Like, that's normal. Like, that's art.
Yeah,
nobody sees that as a negative.
That's still a political stance as far as countries are. I'm talking about.
I know.
No, it's a moral stance.
No,
but
what I'm saying in general, what I'm saying is we're sitting here having a conversation of Tyler Perry doesn't have to go that far to you, because he could still insinuate, just like Jamie Foxx show or somebody in the past have done, which was on network television. What I'm saying is, if this was network television in a different country, you wouldn't have this conversation, because those type of scenes would be there.
But I'm saying I would, though. I'm saying, if those type of scenes are there in America, you just may have to do it on a streaming service. But it's still there. But I'm saying, but Baby Boy was on VHS. Like, there's ways for people to smash butt naked on. That's what I'm saying. So that's been a thing. But I'm talking about, but Tyler Perry is in control of the content. Of the
changing my thing.
Tyler Perry is in control of the content that he's making, and I'm saying, regardless of where he lived, if he lived in a place where nudity was legal or whatever, that's all of that is one thing. I'm talking about in reference to him standing on the whole, I'm a Christian and whatever the case may be thing. Like, if you're if you're going to stand on that, it doesn't matter what country you're in. That's just what you're going to stand on. It's not about
here's the danger in that, just to elaborate, because yes, I have spent a lot of time in Europe, and I know exactly what she's talking about. I've seen it, witnessed it for myself. The danger that they believe, the way it was explained to me, is we don't show overt sexuality because it's in poor taste, but we don't shame that, and we certainly don't shame nudity because we don't want to teach the next generation that they should be ashamed of their body or their sexuality. Do you get what I'm saying? So nudity is one. It's like in Germany, I remember I saw a nude man, full frontal and everything, on like 9 o'clock Saturday television. And the way it was explained to me is, if he was erect, we wouldn't show it because that's sexuality. But since he's flaccid, that's just a human form, and we don't want to teach our kids that that's something wrong with that. So just to lay that out there.
But what I'm saying is, but if you went to a place where you know sex trafficking was legal, that doesn't mean that you do as the Romans do. You know what I'm saying? Like you still can stand on what it is that you believe, just because it's more accepted somewhere else. Is what I'm getting.
Go clutch your pearls somewhere else.
You're talking about the difference between the U.S. and another country, and I'm talking about the difference between somebody who's just say, you know, out there in the world or whatever case be, versus somebody who is saying, yo, I'm a Christian. This is what I believe. I believe in a God who stands for these principles, yada, yada, yada. But yet, for the bad,
nudity.
But yet, no, but it's not about the nudity though. It's about
there's no Christians in Europe.
It's about the content that doesn't loop back around to the point. That's what I'm saying. Like even in Jumping the Broom, like there was different little like, you know, whatever, but it was nothing too crazy, but it's still the point of the message still had a Christian based theme, as opposed to some of the other stuff that Tyler's made. Not everything, but some of the other stuff he's made never looped back around. It's not about just it being that somebody's naked. It's about why are you doing this besides you know it's going to sell and it's going to get you the bag.
Sisters haven't ended yet, right? It may loop back around a little later.
But some have it. Some other shows have ended that didn't loop. Is my point.
But
I tried, Tyler.
I think it's still a bigger picture, and I think that I don't think you can say by what I just don't think it's apples. I don't think it's apples and apples. Like I don't think it's the same thing, and I think that just because he's a Christian means that he can't make certain content. I think he has to be responsible with his content, but I don't think that means that he can't make certain things because you know he's like. I don't think he can't make nude scenes or scenes that insinuate sex and it's a problem, or that if he ends the show and it doesn't loop back around to some Christian values when he didn't start the show off like that either, like that makes him less than, or is like, oh, you're veering away from or whatever. I just think like I don't know. I think it's a lot of creative, like clearly you guys are having creative differences, and I think it's content creation, and I think he has a bigger picture of whatever he's trying to do.
Well, you feel like that because you live in Sodom Gomorrah, California. No, I'm just kidding.
I feel like this in New York.
you live in all the most sinful cities. All right, Janessa, you got any jewels? I'm just making.
I do.
I know.
Don't put me on the full frontal.
You know it's coming.
I cannot stand this. Well, let me change my background because this
looks good. We live in the same house.
We're all in the same house together.
And they've
been watching you the whole hour. You ain't gonna change nothing they ain't seen yet.
No. So this week's jewel, I saw this actually on Instagram. I follow this guy named King of Solomon. And so when I saw this, I thought it was pretty profound with what's going on in my life, because all my jewels be going on what's in my life. But this week's, he said, people have opinions, but God has dominion. And I really like that because y'all know I've been doing some new things, whether it's in my job or in my professional development. And I have just sometimes questioned if I'm in the right space because things are not easy right now for me, hence why I'm exhausted. And so my mom had sent me a message. My whole switch up game is not what I thought it was going to be. But she said, remember that this position is a God appointment. He will call all of us to positions that we cannot do, but he will provide everything that we need to do well in the position that he calls us into. Look for his presence at your workplace today. And so I just wanted to share with our followers those two things, that if God brings you to a place, he will provide you with what you need. He will give you everything you need, the help, the people, the resources, and that people may have opinions, but at the end of the day, God has dominion. So what he wants to come to pass will come to pass.
Amen.
And it encouraged me. So I just hope it encourages y'all. And now take me off this thing.
Amen. Kellie, your snaps are on mute. We can't hear.
So she's saying basically, if he wants LA in the ocean, he'll put it in the ocean. Got it.
Don't put words in my mouth.
He can do the same thing to Florida.
Go ahead, do it to both, huh?
Tennessee, right? Oh, I forgot he was in Tennessee. Yeah.
Oh no, there's
a nuclear explosion in Tennessee.
No, it's too many of his people here. It's the opposite of Sodom and Gomorrah. Nothing stays open past 9.
All right. Princess Kells.
I just put a pretzel in my mouth. At Princess Kells 51, still private.
Okay. All right.
Private forever, she is.
You can find me at JRihanna _. Got my Instagram name. We have it over there.
At Terry Wayne Comedy, all social media platforms. And the book is still available on Amazon. It is Unclaimed Ashes. Give me your money.
Not give me your money. Okay.
It's give me your money. You'll enjoy the book, but give me your money.
Thing, I didn't even get an @ at Risa _G on Instagram.
What?
Shut up, Kelly. I said Kelly.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
That's just because he's bad at this. Don't take offense.
I didn't even get an @
Like, dang, what's her @
Yeah, you know what he needs is a producer. That's what he needs.
Right. She should have. Sorry, she should have been putting her own.
Is it a producer or is it a PA? Risa, which one is it?
That's a good question.
Well, no, it's definitely a producer. A PA is a production assistant, and that's pretty much an intern.
I mean,
he needs a technical advisor.
No, a PA is pretty much an intern. We need somebody who's gonna do this full time. Risa. Anyway.
So thank you, Teresa G, for coming out today and sharing her knowledge and her wisdom with us on the Worst Ones podcast, season 3, episode 29. We most definitely wouldn't be here without you. I think season 3 was, I think we had just started when some people were going to quit, and Risa G came in as the producer and brought us all together. So
some people, huh?
Some people.
So we appreciate your guidance and your leadership in producing us and your presence today on this podcast.
Amen.
Thank you.
Kelly's Keys.
Kelly's Keys. We appreciate y'all as always. We are the Worst Ones. We out.
Top of the world. Top of the world. Yeah, top of the world.